Okay, so we're gonna start the, I would say, fun but still complex aspect of color and light, which is color. So colors, here we're gonna see on the color wheel what's the different, aspect of colors and and contrasts and everything. So here we have a simple color wheel, and it's a pretty, I would say, saturated colors. If you make it darker, you will go into shades, actually. That's how you call it, but that's not really important. That's just like values. So you have shades, and then you have, so very, I don't know if we can go even, yeah, we can go even more into saturation. So that's very vivid. That's the super saturated values. Usually it's not really much used in illustration because of the fact that it does not seem natural. And then you have the tones, which are very bright values, sometimes even like pastel values. So after that, you can divide colors into warm and cold. Usually you can see that there is still like pretty subtle, like frontier between, I would say, like purple and, like red, and same for like yellow and green. So sometimes you can have, it's gonna be weird, but warm cold color or cold warm color, if it's understandable. I will show that later. But that's why you cannot really put this still like into very separate, categories. It's actually always like a thing that
Relative.
just
It's
blends.
relative, right? Isn't it relative?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, because everything actually is linked. So here you can see that we have opposite colors on the circle. Uh, in nature and in illustration, they're not really opposite, but on the color wheel they are, which means that is like complementary color or contrast. Usually it means that they are really, really like a strong, there's like a really strong difference of values. And so if you put this in black and white, it's really going to be like super different. um, Usually you have this in, also you can see that in like football or sport jersey. You usually have very, like the Lakers, actually the Lakers NBA basketball team, which has purple and yellow jersey. And these are things that you can find in more, I would say, subtle uh, value and color in your illustration, to have, for example, a tree with green leaves and a kind of like a warm green that actually has like a red, I wouldn't say tone, but color in the shade, for example. So when you're not balancing your choice of colors, you can have horrible things. So that's not an illustration, that's not a photograph, but that's yeah, that's a, I believe, a PowerPoint or a website with all the colors that can exist that have been like put in it. So as it's really hurting my eyes, we're going to put it away. uh Now we have other, I would say, an example of a picture I took, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago. And that's a pretty interesting example. And that's the advice I'm going to give you. So a lighter value on the upper half and a darker value and the lower half. So it's a very simple one. Not gonna be beautiful, but it would be understandable, I believe. There you go. If you want to go into a bit more details, we can do just like quickly evokes like, you know, clouds. Okay. So here we have all the same, I would say, colors, cold colors in your illustration, photo, or things. If we color pick here, we have this grayish value, sorry, a bit more blue come from the sky, from the clouds, and then a very dark one that is almost black, but I would even put it that way. And then you have your tones, and your tones here is the direct lights. And the direct lights is doing something like this. It's a bit more pink and lighter. Doing stuff like this. So it won't be the exact study, but it's same. I hope it's going to be understandable. You have this close from the horizon, and you have these tiny but not really necessary real lights from the cars. So here you can see that you have 4 colors. So that was an example of what you can have in, I would say, nature, outside when you're walking and everything. We have now different way to see colors, how they interact with lights, which means that we saw the black and white version of it, the famous sphere that you see everywhere on internet, where you have the direct lights that bounce. Oh, it's behind it, sorry. That bounce on that volume. So it's everywhere here, bouncing here, bouncing here. You have the atmospheric lights, and you have that very strong lights here. Now there was a question of texture coming from, you know, the lights and the colors usually have difference. If the thing is, I would say, the subject or the character, or sometimes just the prop. If something is just can be only just a prop, like a car or a bag, something to eat, I don't know. And when the texture is different, you will have like reflection that are usually more, I would say, precise on the different environments that you have. Usually, if you zoom in super close from the texture of it, the surface won't be like this of this object. If you go super close on that sphere, it's going to be like this, like microscopic close. It's going to be like this. So it means that when you zoom in, the lights will go not really that way, but it's going to be bouncing everywhere else. And here, if you zoom in on that sphere, it's going to be super smooth, almost just like a really very shiny texture. And so when you put light on it, it's going to reflect almost always in the same direction. So that's where you have the difference between this object here and this one. Usually you also have a difference of value. You have this white value. I'm going to put it here to see it. Then this gray value. Oh, sorry, red one. Maybe the blue one. Here you will have the bright one, the very white one. This actually the highlights. When it's very smooth, you usually have a highlight. Like think of a car, a very like old or very like from the 50s with all the chromes everywhere, or the very new car with the fresh new paints that really reflects everything. You have the very blue value, you have the medium dark value, even darker, and that very red one that actually we can't really see. So you have a pretty big difference, something that really reflects everything around it has a lot of different colors compared to something that is really soft. To make you understand the various examples that you can have also in you can see in your life every day, I did those two beautiful potato and pepper. And you can see the difference here when you see even in the first session. If I put this everything is black and white, you have the difference of value. And you can see that something that is usually shiny has a overall dark value. So you can see that as a overall dark value or a overall same, I would say, color. Means that this pepper is this color. That is all. When you have a strong light, you have a kind of, I would say, lighter value here and here, but you have this highlights somewhere, depending on the light you chose or the light you have in your study, for example. And you have this other value that is the atmospheric light, as I call it. And for the potato, we have a very close and same color that just is getting darker. That is all. But you don't have the highlights like the pepper. It would feel actually weird, or it would feel like I would say the potato would be wet, which feels pretty weird. It wouldn't really work if I do this. If I have like the same treatments of texture on the same on those two, this wouldn't work actually. So this is a very interesting work from a photograph. So the photograph took the same actually picture of Warsaw in Poland at different time of the day. It's important to precise this. This precision is important because we don't really have the nighttime, not quite. So here you can clearly see that this is normal, I would say normal daytime, blue sky, clouds in the sky. Here we have the sunset. Here we have the twilight. And here we would say that's the end of the twilight, the beginning of the nights, or it can be dawn. Actually, dawn usually can have these values because of the tiny water particles that are in the air, and usually makes everything a little a little bit more blue, purple, grayish, with, we usually have tiny tones of the sky, in the sky of you know, here and here, coming from the sunlight that is trying to go over the globe. And here, this is pretty interesting because you can also color pick. I advise you, actually, people say that is cheating, but color picking can be very helpful to understand how colors work in a photograph, in a picture, illustration, movie scene, and stuff. You can see that, for example, here we have a lot of warm color. I'm going to do this quick. Maybe that one, and I would say this one. Gonna pick not more than 4. Sky, clouds, this building, and maybe the roof, because that's pretty big parts of the color here. Kind of like really pastel here, as you can see. Maybe Plaza. Is that blue? Oh yeah, that's pretty blue. Surprising. And maybe that's 2. And then the last one. That's too close. This one is better. This one is interesting, actually. And I would say this one feels green, but is actually blue. So I'm just gonna put it really here. Yeah, that's the same, almost the same.